Welcome to episode 20 of Crosstown Cardboard with my great friend Craig at New York City Sports Cards, the math teacher, the soccer coach, the great guy all around, and me, the news and sports broadcaster here in Southern Oregon, but originally from Westchester County, New York. And episode 20, Craig, we're calling The Itch to Flip. And how are we scratching that itch? Because especially for you, you're more so recently, at least in the past year, in the collector's mindset. You like buying stuff. Sometimes you sell, but a lot of times you hang on to it, you like it, and you're investing in these cards for the future. Like you always talk about your collection 10 years down the road. What's that going to look like? Me, more so, I also collect and I buy things that I like, but I'm more on the flipping side as far as recently. So we wanted to dive into this topic because you brought it up recently going to a show this weekend about how you're feeling that itch to flip a little bit more, a little bit more. So once we get into that, before that, I would like to ask you, how are you doing? How are you feeling about this past weekend show?
I am feeling great. Currently, I'm feeling great about this past weekend show. I have not set up at a show since the summer, and I liken
Wow.
my experiences setting up at shows like a slice of pizza, where even the worst slice of pizza is still delicious, right? So, not
Right.
not that this weekend was the worst by any means. I actually had a great time this weekend, but I would say I had a really successful show to my standards. I think a
Oh,
lot
good.
of other people that I know who maybe based on the transaction volume and the number of sales would look at my day maybe as a failure. But again, not having set up and scratching that itch and making moves and going into show knowing that I don't know what my new pickups are going to be. I have no idea, but I'm excited to find out. It was a success for me. Met a lot of cool people, got to have a lot of really good conversations. We were rolling deep with the Wolf Pack. And what was fun for me this show, represent. What was fun for me this show is that this is the first year that I've tracked every purchase that I've made. Every card purchase, I got a nice spreadsheet and everything. So I'm like, you know what? I'm a mathematics teacher. Math always
Mhm.
came pretty easy to me. I'm starting to embrace the fact that let me use those mathematical skills in the hobby as a way to track my collection, trap my flipping, as we're going to get into, because money doesn't grow on trees over here in New York City. We don't even have that many trees. So
Right.
if I want to fund cards that are going to stay in my personal collection, flipping is just kind of a part of the game. And I'm starting to embrace that more and more. So, yeah, we'll talk about that a little more today.
Okay, great. Yeah, I can't wait to get into that because I was almost excited and invigorated when you said that because you've been more so, collecting, like I mentioned, and, you know, curating that collection that you want with the soccer cards and with some great, Knicks and Giannis pickups that you've recently had. So to hear you say that you're getting the itch to flip and jumping back into those waters is exciting. And before we get into that, I just wanted to thank all the people who watched our last episode of Crosstown Cardboard about the Burbank show recap, because that became our most watched episode with just me and you. Currently, our interview with Uncle Rob is the number one podcast episode. And then the vlog on the San Francisco card show is overall number one. Our only episode, or our only content piece, I guess, with more than 1,000 views. We also have the Burbank Sports Card Show recap, which will have just dropped by the time this podcast episode comes out. So if you haven't checked that, definitely check that out because I made some cool moves at the show. Definitely fun and cool to see the visual part of what we were talking about verbally in our last podcast episode. So we got a few more subscribers also. So anyone who hasn't subscribed yet, definitely feel free if you want to stay tuned. And I'm definitely interested, Craig, at first of all, where was the show? How many tables? Can you paint the scene for us from this past weekend?
So, Crosstown Cardboard has a lot of content in the works. You're going to have a 2-day vlog at Burbank. I took some shots, POV, point of view from a dealer side this past weekend. Going to turn that into a little vlog as soon as I figure out how to work iMovie. But this was the Garden State Trade Show in New Jersey. The promoter is Laz, who's Laz NYC on Instagram. And if you've listened to Rob's content, or maybe I've dropped his name before, I think Laz is a great promoter because he just seems to get good quality vendors in the door. A lot of people, every show I've been to was, always seems to be a lot of traffic. And this weekend was no different. I would say an hour into the show and then like a good 4 or 5 hours straight, just a ton of foot traffic, people walking in, and yeah, a lot of activity. And I was actually talking to friends about it, how setting up at a show, that's like a full day's worth of work. You're
Yeah.
exhausted after that. But it was a ton of fun being set up next to Rob and next to Cards by Joe. Shout out Cards by Joe, CBJ.
My
Tony was
boy.
there. Nick from the Slab Exchange, Ken Sports Cards Lessons, DJ. So we had a really good crew there. And for me, I had to take a train to the New Jersey Transit to an Uber to get there. But we do what we got to do for the love of the cards.
Yes, for the love of the cards. So you said you had a good day by your standards. What exactly does that mean? What cards were selling? What cards were you buying that you I loved how you went in there with an open mindset that you didn't know what was going to show up and you were willing to
Always.
make those moves and adjust just on spur of the moment.
Yeah, I love as a dealer or someone walking, never having a plan. Just when you see the cards, you know. But that being a dealer, being set up, you have the leverage, right? Because not only are the cards coming to you, but it's kind of a mutual understanding that you're the dealer. Like you're going to have the opportunity to buy maybe some better deals from people bringing their cards up to you because they want to sell said cards. But
Yep.
basically, I've kind of developed the system here where I want to pick up cards that I want to keep in my collection for players I like and or investment purposes. But in order to do that, you got to flip your way up there because that's how you could, create funds for yourself. So I've been buying just little cards here and there, one card on Facebook, a couple on Instagram, card on eBay. And that's how I've been building my inventory for the last, we'll call it 6 weeks, tracking everything, thinking in my head, I'm getting this at a good deal. This is something that I'll be able to sell for a profit at a show. And every card that I did sell, because I got my nice little spreadsheet here, every card I sold was for a profit. And
Nice.
I've come to accept that I'll take anywhere, even something I sold a Messi card, I made like an 8% profit on it. That's okay. The S&P 500 increases by 8% every year on average. But the point is, I'm willing to accept these just little wins, 8%, 15%, sold a card, made $15, whatever it is. It's just, you're stacking up. But
Right.
it was very interesting to see the cards that I did acquire over the last 6 weeks, which was heavy soccer, some Messi, Mbappe, Holland, U.S. national guys, and a little mix of basketball. There was a Tatum in there, I had a Giannis. And it was interesting to see which cards got demand, what people were asking for. And I would say, in some senses, I was fully prepared. And in the sense that I wasn't prepared, it's a learning experience for the next time I set up.
So what were the most people asking about?
Overall sport, I would say baseball.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
keep in
I
mind,
guess that makes sense with the season coming up.
season's around the corner. The show was in New Jersey, so there are a lot of Yankee fans around. But baseball was in the most demand. I had one, maybe two baseball cards in my showcase, so I couldn't really help people much. But if
Mhm.
we're gonna talk soccer specific, because that's what I specialize in, without question, Erling Haaland were the cards that moved the most.
Wow, interesting. Okay,
And the
because
cards,
he didn't play in the last World Cup, so you would think maybe his his well-known factor wouldn't be as much as Ronaldo, Messi, Mbappe.
but he's on a tear, and probably gonna break the record for most goals in a Premier League season with Man City, and he's only 22.
Wow, I didn't know he was doing that well.
Oh yeah, no, he's not like in the system he plays with Man City, not the flashiest player ever, but he knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. He's a 6'4"
Yeah,
Norwegian, long blonde hair, so he's
yep.
got the marketing appeal to him. And yeah, in my opinion, it's Mbappe and Holland as the next guys up. But I was really smart, and that's where I had some good Holland cards, and I was able to move them all except for one. Uh,
Wow, good for you.
one of my favorite deals that I made, because it kind of kills two birds with one stone here, is I had that Holland Black refractor that I've showed you before in
Yeah,
PSA 10 was the top's finest Bundesliga. And a guy came over to me and showed me his cards, and he had a bunch of not really soccer. It was mostly assortment of baseball, basketball, football. Those are the main three. But he's trying to get into soccer a little more, and he knows Erling Haaland. So I'm like, you know what? What a great opportunity to get the right trade value I want out of this Holland card while also spreading the good word about soccer cards to
Ah,
non-soccer card collectors. So I'm
uh-huh.
helping this person begin to build up their soccer card collection. And I traded that. This is a totally obscure trade for a Tom Brady
Oh,
2003 Fleer Avent game worn jersey card out of 9.99
okay.
and a Joe DiMaggio 2001 Sweet Spot game worn jersey with a pinstripe.
Those are both very cool.
That's what. But so a Holland black refractor and a PSA 10 for two game worn cards from the early 2000s. Only the weird kind of obscure deals that could happen at a card show.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you bring that up because there's a lot of opportunities that you get at a card show that you would never get online or never stumble across. Like it just takes more steps to initiate a potential trade, see what the other person has. A lot of people don't have their cards on Instagram. So if something just walks up, and I feel like you having a great mindset going in with an open mind to, if I like these cards and they make sense value wise and they potentially give me a little bit of a profit on the card that you have, you just take a look. Is it cool? Is
Yep.
it a little bit maybe more valuable or equally valuable to the card that I have? And then you make the trade. So those are pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to have inventory or just have skin in the game. So I'm going to a trade night tomorrow night, for example. I plan on setting up in the future. I'm all booked for national, so I need cards. I need cards to work with. So that Holland, I enjoyed it. I got a couple really good photo ops out of it, and I moved on to what I think are a couple of really liquid game worn jersey cards of two
Yeah.
greats.
Yeah. No, that's super. So what
Super.
aspects of the
So
card show, what aspects of the card show gave you a little bit more of that itch to flip? I'm
oh,
very
okay.
interested to how you started thinking that way a little bit more from the card show.
I got you. So the moment that happened to me was when I was set up at the show. I purchased this Tom Brady. It was 2000. I probably don't even have a picture anymore. That's not true. I have it in a video somewhere. 2010 Topps Chrome Tom Brady refractor and a PSA 10. Someone comes
Nice.
over to my show. He had a price at 200. I said, "Hey, I'll offer you 150." So I bought it for 150. An hour later, I sold it for 200, and I'm just like, "Whoa, that was fun."
Nice.
Nothing groundbreaking, right? I'm not looking at $50 of life changing, but I'm looking at like, damn, like you could sell an asset for a 33% profit, and hopefully I could use that money to buy something for my own personal collection. Like, this is really fun. But um, having a spreadsheet of all my prices is what kind of really kept me locked in. So at the time of buying a lot of these cards, I looked at comps, but sure, we took out Card Ladder, we took out eBay during the show, but I wasn't sitting there the night before the show pricing everything out because I priced these cards out already when I bought them. So in my head, I was already buying them at a good price. So when I put my price tags on them, I just listed it anywhere from, 10 to 40% above what I paid,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Okay. So and you were willing to negotiate off of that a little bit?
That's it. So like, maybe someone's getting a good deal. Maybe they're going to buy it under comps, but hey, I'm, making my 5, 10, 15%. You're getting a card you like. Everybody wins. I'm able to keep it moving.
Yeah. Okay, so the itch to flip got back a little bit more once you made that quick
Oh, yeah.
33% profit. That must
Yeah.
have felt nice.
Yeah. And I almost feel hypocritical in a way because I always preach collecting. And I mean, it's different if, it's not like we're these high end sports card flipper content creators. But like I
Yeah.
said, like I'm kind of a math geek in a sense. That's why I teach it to kids. So to me, this is so fun to like track the numbers and not to mention if I'm putting time and effort into this, like, don't you want to make sure that you're successful in doing so? So
Yeah.
I'm starting to really embrace, keeping track of the data and making sure that, I could fund this hobby for myself through my flips.
Yeah. And I feel like there's this cloud of guilt a lot of times it seems like around a flipper. It's almost like being promiscuous in the hobby. It seems like if you're a flipper, oh, you're sleeping around. You're doing this. You're unfaithful to the hobby. You should be married to your collection and be a faithful man of collecting. And it just seems like not everybody, but there's a lot of like flip shaming content out there where it's like, you know, oh, you're just in this for the money. You're just in this to level up, and the whole motivation behind your content or your card collecting journey is to flip, make money. You don't care about the cards. You don't care about the people in the hobby. But at the same time, you can have a balance of both. I mean, you can collect what you enjoy and put it away, or not. I mean, whatever you enjoy. It's just about your own hobby journey and how you choose to do that. I mean, as long as you don't have it out for somebody, you're not trying to like have a negative impact on somebody and screw them over as far as a sale, or like lie to them about the condition of the card or not send a card in the mail or something like that. I feel like, and I would love to get your thoughts on this, I feel like do whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, and flipping is necessary because money will continue to pour into cards and the hobby if people buy cards and collect them and keep them. Because now that's money someone spent on a card. That money went to the person who sold them the card, and now we're pumping money into this hobby economy. So flippers, in a sense, help get the cards into these collectors' hands. It's when it's a game of hot potatoes when somebody loses big. But if flippers are here to get cards people like into their hands, ultimately that's a win for everyone.
And listen, if it's a game of hot potato, you got to know when you don't want a hot potato. I mean,
Yeah.
that's your choice to grab that hot potato. So at the same time, if that's the game you're playing, you got to know what you're getting into. If you're going to be in this flipping thing and you say, oh, shoot, Zach Wilson is hurt right now for 2 weeks. Let me get a Zach Wilson card so I can flip it when he's back healthy. Well, guess what? That's the risk that you chose to take. And you should just do your due diligence as far as like what you're able to tolerate risk wise, money wise, collecting wise, so that, and it's a hard lesson to learn because I know neither one of us really prospects, but to a certain extent, that Dak Prescott card that I bought, because I wanted to have a big card of a quarterback who could have an ascent toward the playoff season. And I bought the Contenders rookie ticket auto of Dak Prescott in a BGS 9.5. Tried to time it to sell, which I thought was a good idea.
We tried.
After the 49ers and Cowboys game, tried to time it to sell on eBay, sold for 610. The buyer didn't pay, and then I'm left holding a card that I was trying to time because I was trying to flip that card, although it took a while to sell it. And then
Sure.
I ended up getting like 475 out of it at the Burbank show. So I lost
Oh,
like,
you moved it.
yeah, I sold it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I lost like $75, but that's because that was a safe ish flip idea, because he's already established as like a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, but he had the potential to rise into that maybe great category.
And you got a
So
story. And you got a story out of it.
yeah, I got a story out of it, and we were able to talk about it on the podcast and hopefully give other people some type of knowledge that they can get through our journeys, that then they can say, okay, I feel comfortable doing something similar to that, or I won't do something similar to that because, it has the potential to not work out. But I mean, at the same time, I feel the itch to flip off of Burbank too. But it's just like when that money's in your face, for example, the Bird 1 of 1 that I got that we were talking about on the last show, the impeccable game used jersey, on card auto, 1 of 1 Larry Bird, and a PSA 9 with a 10 auto. I'm into that for 3,000 after my trade with my Tiger Woods rookie auto that's behind me, and a few other cards. And so I just got like a $3,500 or around there offer on Facebook, just like the first time I posted it in the comments of somebody looking for a one of one, like just one of one autos, and I just
You
put it
have
on there.
2, right? No, sorry. You
I,
almost
I
had
have two birds. I like the flawless better,
yeah.
the BGS 95. So I want to keep that and not put that for sale. But on the one of one side, I'm going to have trouble turning down that $500 profit because it's not something that I'm totally tied to. And really, whenever there's that offer in your face, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but it's tough to turn down a good sized profit if you have it in your face.
Yeah, so here's a card that I picked up from the show this weekend. A Jay-Z 2005 Topps Chrome Refractor in a
Yeah, that's
PSA
cool.
9. But before I get to this one, because it ties into the point, I'm comfortable navigating in the $1,000, even let's even call it $500 and less range.
Hmm.
It mitigates risk. I'm able to have fun, and I don't feel like at any point I'm holding the bag, and that's what's comfortable for me, right? You have to figure out what's comfortable for you.
Yep.
So, a couple of little hobby tidbits from this weekend. I won't name any names, but I was talking to someone who frequents a lot of New York events, and he's a high-end basketball card dealer. I mean, we're talking five-figure deals, right? And he's telling me how he has buyers in China. So there's a a method to the madness. You're not just going around to a show, buying a LeBron autograph for 10,000, hoping to flip it on Facebook. This person's going in with a plan and knows if he could pick up these high end basketball cards, he has people in China who are going to buy it from him.
Hmm.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
And
that's smart. I mean, you have to have the itch to flip with a plan on how you're going to scratch that itch. If you're just going in itchy, who's going to scratch that itch? You're going to be left just itchy and losing
yeah,
money.
yeah. I mean, and you should probably get some Benadryl as well.
Right.
But so I bring up this Jay Z Topps Chrome card because you talked about instantly making, a quick $500. I bought this card from John, who's Pack Nicholson on Instagram, who
Nice. Yeah. Yep.
he makes the memes. Very good friend. It was great. It was just great to see him, right? Great to see friends.
Hmm.
Mazel tov to John, by the way, who has a baby girl on the way.
Nice, John.
So I bought this card from him. I love buying cards from friends. He has a baby on the way, so I help. Babies are expensive. I kind of helped him out in a way. But
Right.
somebody on Instagram offered me for this card where I would have made a quick 25% profit. It's like, oh, that's an easy flip. But something about this one that I like this card and buying it from a friend, I'm like, you know what? I don't really need to flip this. The money I would have make wouldn't make too big of a difference. I kind of like having this in my collection. So if you're on YouTube, it's the 2005 Topps Chrome Jay-Z Refractor out of 999. It says Brooklyn, New York, right on the back. And I like that I bought it from a friend. So I don't want to flip it right away. I feel like there's kind of some respect there. I don't know. That's just my own take.
Yeah.
And it's a cool one. I think if I bring this to a trade night or have it out at a show, it'll catch people's interest.
Yeah, definitely. And that's just the decision you make. What cards are you going to activate that itch to flip? And what cards are you going to say, you know what, the money's not really worth it to me. I like this card more than I like the money. So it's good that you're going through that process. And that's something that I go through every single time I get a card. And I want to like it. This might seem weird. I want to like the card to a level where I like it, but I'm not too in love with it to where I don't want to sell it.
I feel you.
But for some, if I want to collect it, then I'll hold on to it and I'll have no problem putting it away. But if I'm going to flip it with the mindset of like preparing for a show, or this is going to be part of my inventory that I then go to sell on Instagram and Facebook, I want to like the card to the point where I'm okay keeping it in my collection until it sells. But I don't want to love it to the point where I can't part with it and I have this money tied up that I didn't intend to have tied up.
Sure. And I think it's good to have assets, not necessarily to just be ready to sell and make a profit, but to have as trade bait. So, like, here's a card that I'm by no means attached to, but I thought it was cool and I thought it was different from 2016 Panini Select at the National. They have these
Okay.
national packs, and you can get a pink prism. So, This is a Steph Curry 2016 Select Pink Prism in a
Wow.
PSA 10 out of 15, and this is a Pop 1.
Wow,
Now,
that's a cool one.
very cool, right? Not
I
something you
like
see
that.
a lot. Not something you
Yeah.
see a lot, and of course, it being a Pop 1, you like owning that. You have a little bit of control over the price, and the person that sold it to me, I thought gave me a really, really fair deal based on what the PSA 9 did. And I look at this as, I'll field some offers online. It's by no means anything I'm attached to, but if I can't get the number I want for it, I'm gonna be patient because there's a payoff to patience.
What? I have
Yeah.
seen that somewhere on the Crosstown Cardboard YouTube and podcast platforms. That's
Yeah.
great.
So yeah, I mean, it's Curry, it's low numbered, it's a Pop 1. Actually, I think the pink prism looks really nice. So this is a cool
Yeah.
one, right? Nothing I expected to see or pick up. I actually didn't pick up a single soccer card, which was surprising. But I don't know. There wasn't too much that came by my table, and I was pretty picky. Whereas I was next to Cards by Joe, who
Uh-huh.
he churns out inventory. He's buying and selling, and he doesn't mind buying like the base football and baseball rookies if the margins are correct.
Okay.
And it worked out well for him because he was making moves left and right. I came home with 5 new cards. That was it. But I loved all the cards that I got.
And shout out to Cards by Joe because he also referenced meeting Mike Breen, who we've brought up several times on our podcast. And he said he had a great experience with Mike Breen. He said, just a super time. Nice guy. As I mentioned, Mike took the time to talk to me for half an hour when I was at ESPN. Super nice guy. And speaking of nice guys, Craig, I wanted to shout out LAL.Showtime, Robert on Instagram. Right after we recorded last week's episode, I had the pleasure of talking to his card club.
We talked about this, right?
We talked about me going on there. Oh, have you talked to their card club too?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Dude, tell me how that went.
Oh, dude, it was great. It was the Eagles Card Club in El Paso, Texas. Shout out to Robert, LAL.Showtime on Instagram. And so cool to see all the kids involved in the hobby. He had his 2 daughters in the class in the card club. Kid Sam was there talking about his Pokemon collection. And now these kids were very knowledgeable. I was really caught off guard with like the cards they were showing me, the game used patches, the autos, the rookie cards, and what they were collecting. And they even had a quiz for me, which I thought was interesting. They were like, we're going to do a rapid fire thing. And they're like, okay, national treasures or flawless? I was like, oh man. I'm like, I like flawless better.
That's an easy one.
For me, that's easy. For other people, that's tough. I could understand definitely going the national treasures or maybe even immaculate route. But I, of course, I'm flawless is my number one. So I said flawless. Then they almost stumped me with this one. They said on card auto or game used patch. Ooh. And I was like, oof, man, that's tough. That's tough. But I had to go on card auto just because that's my baseline. I mean, you see the cards behind me if you're watching on the YouTube.
You can't even spell sticker.
Well, thank you. I mean, I do have a lot of, not a lot, but I do make some exceptions on the sticker autos, but just the on card, there's just something about it when the athlete has it in their hands, sign it right on the card. I mean, I'm not telling our listeners and our viewers anything new, but when you come across a game used patch like this, Craig, this Anthony Davis flawless rookie patch, and I just got a DeMar DeRozan from Hot Corner on Instagram, a full letter. Yeah. And a full letter of the Raptors game used patch. I mean, so when you have patches to that level, that's why that was almost a stumper for me. But I just wanted to shout out the Eagles Card Club in El Paso, Texas, and Robert on Instagram for reaching out. And it just made me proud to see all those kids, girls, boys, different ages, different races, all coming together and bonding over cards, similar to the card club that you host at your school in New York City. And it's just great to see these card clubs popping up all around the country, giving kids a safe space to hang out and learn finances, learn more about their athletes, and just get some excitement, get kids excited about something and learning. And it was just super cool to be a part of that. And I was blown away by their knowledge on the hobby. It was like almost talking on an equal playing field. I wasn't really, they were showing off cards that they liked, and I was showing them cards, and it brought me back to my own youth as a kid too. So
Good
just
for
a
you.
super cool time. Yeah.
Good for you for taking the time to do that. And shout out to Robert for setting up these experiences for his kids. You know, he's had you and I on to speak to them at separate occasions. I think I saw Roth cards, spoke to them at one point.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I mean, good for Robert for providing these opportunities for these students. That is how you get kids involved. You get someone who's positive and motivational to speak to them. So, we are doing our part.
Yeah. And speaking of the itch to flip, Roth cards. I mean, you have Roth cards, Kenneth Fornos, Sports Card Taxi, guys like that who are, Mikey's cards, who has a balance of collecting and flipping too. And he calls himself a flipper as well. So it's just like, and it's nice that Robert had a variety of different people on. He actually has Mama Breaks, I heard, coming on. So very influential woman in the hobby to come on. And you should have seen the look on his two young girls' faces when I was on the Zoom call with them. And he said, "Yeah, we're having Mama Breaks on." And the two young girls just lit up like that's like one of their lady idols in the hobby, because they're in a space where women are not as frequent in the hobby as men, of course, as we know. And they actually asked me about how have I seen the progress of women coming along in the hobby, and how many women have I seen, getting into sports cards or teaching me a lot about sports cards, like Black Jaded Wolf, for example. I mean,
she's the GOAT.
She has so many six-figure cards. She has a Giannis, I'm pretty sure, immaculate RPA, NT, and Luca cards, and just blowing us out of the water. So really, a lot of these women are teaching us stuff. But it was just so cool that they're thinking about the progress of women in an underserved space already at that age, and just touching on cultural topics on top of learning about the cards at the same time.
Yeah. We'll have to get a woman from the hobby on to talk. I mean, we tried, we got ghosted, but that's a story for another day.
We were left on red, which is another one of our podcast topics.
But we're keeping it positive. Yes. I want to talk about one more pickup. This was the show was pretty much closed down at that point. Supposed to end at 4. It's probably 3:30, 3:45, and then there's Ken, sports card lessons, fully set up as if the show is just beginning, saying like, oh, sometimes all the good deals happen at the end. So there was like 5 minutes left, and this card came up to my table. So this card got real popular, real hot, because this is John Morant rookie card from Chronicles, and young Dolph is in the background, RIP, who passed away last year.
Right.
So not only is it that rookie card, but it is the blue version numbered out of 99. And not only is it the blue version out of 99, it is jersey number 12 out of 99, which, that's not really my thing. I'm not like collecting jersey number pieces, but people in the hobby like it. I think we could agree to that. I don't know. I think what's cool about it is that the actual numbering, the 12 out of 99, and then you got his uniform right here, the 12 next to it. I think that's a cool little touch. So of all the cards I posted, this one by far has gotten the most interest.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's how you pick the winner, right? Based on like the kind of feedback you get on certain cards. So holding on to this one for a little bit. I think I'm into it at a good value, and I think it'll be a good conversation starter. Like someone will flip through the case and that's not something you see a lot, right? There's never been a jersey number that was sold, so it is really sweet. Chronicles card number 116, John Morant.
Dude, that's great, because that's a little bit more of a newer guy than it seems like you would usually pick up in the basketball card space. But at the same time, it seems like you felt comfortable, adding that portion to your, let's say, your card portfolio, because you don't usually have that many cards in that space. Adding one makes sense. And especially since it's got that cool factor of the I guess you could call it, as far as like modern cards, an iconic card with young Dolph in the
I think
background.
it is. I think it's
Yeah,
like one of the, not quite to the status of the Mark Jackson Melendez brothers card, but
right.
at least of this era, one of those kind of pop culturally cards that might have some staying power.
Totally. And I don't remember who ran this poll on Instagram, but I thought it was super cool. They went through all the different things that somebody might pay a premium for. Like, would you pay a premium for a rookie card? Yes or no? Almost everybody said yes.
Yeah.
But I thought, as far as the serial numbers, it was interesting because I think it was like maybe 65, 100 people surveyed. And I wish I remembered who ran the survey because I would give them credit because it was
I know what
really
you're talking about too. I've seen that.
yeah. And I was surprised because the first serial number, like 1 out of 25, or the bookend, the last serial number, 25 out of 25, had like only around 10% of people said they would pay more for that, which I was surprised. The jersey number actually had like 65% of people saying they would pay a premium for the jersey number on the serial number. So that kind of surprised me as far as how much more that was valued than the first and the last number of a serial number set.
Yeah, and on that John Morant card, something very interesting, and this was never part of the plan, but I actually also picked up the Justin Bieber Drake PSA 10 from 2010 Panini. I got that from Ken. So hear me out.
Okay.
Picked up the Drake Bieber card. Picked up the John Morant with Young Dolph.
Okay.
Picked up the Jay-Z.
Yes.
And on Instagram, I picked up this Justin Timberlake from 2000 Tops in Sync.
Oh my gosh.
This was never part of the plan, but go figure. At the end of the weekend, I picked up 0 new soccer cards, but I picked up 4 pop culture music cards. It just kind of happened organically.
Here's the question, because we're on the itch to flip. Are you going to be saying bye, bye, bye to that In Sync Justin Timberlake card?
How are we going to top that?
Yeah, that was good. I was a huge In Sync kid.
Who wasn't?
Let's be honest. Is the answer yes or no?
I'm trying so hard to come up with a witty response for that, but you broke me. You broke me with that one.
Nice. Okay, and I did find out who ran that survey. It's Prolific Sports Cards.
Good account. I follow their account.
Yes, and also funny because I was friends with him already on Instagram, and his name's Will. Lives in Chicago, and I know because I just sent him a card recently. I bought your Walt Frazier Christmas gift from Will, Prolific Sports Cards, but I didn't know it because I bought it on eBay. And he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, is this you?" He's like, "It's funny because you were friends on Instagram and you bought it on eBay." But yeah, so that's cool. So you got the pop culture, you got a different angle of interest in the cards. That's fun to explore differently.
Totally fun. I always like to think, if I'm setting up at a show like I was, will certain items catch people's eye? Like, here's a simple example. I got a Tiger Woods 1997 stamp from Uzbekistan, I think.
Whoa.
It's just some, I really hope I'm not making that country, like butchering that country.
That's a real country.
I think that's what it was. And I bought it from a local card store up here for $10. I'm like, Tiger Woods stamp from 30 years ago?
Yeah.
Not 30 years ago. That was really bad math. Shame on me. 26 years ago.
That's okay.
And bought it for $10. Nice young couple came over and the guy's girlfriend wanted it. $15. I mean, that's a 50% flip right there.
Yeah.
And she was so excited to have this obscure Tiger Woods stamp card. And that was exactly my thought going into that purchase. Like, this is different. This is not something you see at every single show. Someone will want this. And I was right. So I guess I'm just going for stuff you don't see a lot, whether it's low pop or it's a Justin Timberlake foil card with his shaggy blonde hair.
The frosted tips.
There you go. So I was having fun with pickups. I tried to think outside the box a little bit and pretty happy with what I was able to acquire.
And before we wrap up, Craig, I really liked what you said about if something catches your eye, whether it be in somebody else's showcase or on Instagram, that might be something too that if you're looking to flip it or if you're looking to hold on to it would catch somebody else's eye if you're looking to flip. So like something that caught my eye when I was walking past the showcases at Burbank was this Bo Jackson 1 of 1 flawless auto. And it was just awesome. I mean, it was hard to not want to make a deal on it. It was Jason, his name is. He's a full-time dealer. I think I mentioned him in the last Burbank show recap. Sports Card Machines on Instagram. And he also had this in the case, this Hulk Hogan inscription auto, 12-time champ Hulk Hogan on card, leaf numbered out of 5. So those were 2 big ones that just like stopped me in my tracks. Like, wow, you definitely don't see that every day. I mean, a 1 of 1 and a card out of 5 with a Hogan inscription. And both also in the pop culture realm. I mean, Bo Jackson in the mythical arena, just almost like a folk hero, like a Paul Bunyan style with his strength and so much success in football and basketball at the same time. And then I don't really need to go on at all about the brother here. Our buddy sports card therapist, Rob Gerard, Uncle Rob, on the top of his pyramid. So I'm kind of in the same realm as you, although I find it ironic that me being more so of a flipper, but I feel like we're both in the middle, me being more on the flipper side, you being more on the collector side, at least recently. And my show experience at Burbank actually made me want to dial in the collector side more, whereas your recent show made you want to be more on the flipper side.
How about that?
We both got a different taste of what's out there, and we both had an open mind to changing or slightly altering our paths based on whatever our experience is and however we are enjoying the hobby at that moment.
Flavor of the week.
Right. I mean, as long as you're comfortable with your style, that's all that matters.
But it was a great show. Next week, we got a guest next week. Yes. I ran into this guest at the show, and we had talked previously about having him on. So we talked about it again in person. I'm a man of my word, and that's why I texted you, Carmine. I'm like, Carmine, let's lock this down for next week. So we've got, I think you're really going to enjoy this guest. Someone who does this full time, very knowledgeable, good person. And I have a trade night. You're listening to this Wednesday, Bleecker trade night, Tuesday night. So we'll see. We'll see how I do with some of these cards.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to think of an NSYNC joke, but I Googled NSYNC songs and like bye really the only play on words. So
I'm sorry I stole that from you, bro. I couldn't pass it up.
No, it's you earned that one.
I'm interested to see if your itch to flip pays off on this trade night. If it feels like you want to do it more, if it feels like you want to just continue on the path you're going. I mean, the good thing about the itch to flip is you don't have to flip it right away. And you like those cards, which is the key important thing. Like you get a little laugh, you get a little enjoyment out of those cards. It's a safe, smart investment where you're not pouring your cash to a irresponsible level. I mean, look at that Jay-Z. That's
and look, cool. And if I don't want to sell this Jay-Z, then it's on to the next one.
And you brush that dirt off your shoulder.
No, onto the next one. That wasn't you didn't get that one. Blueprint 3.
I was keeping it rolling.
You win this one. You're witty. You're so polished. I told you that.
You're good too, bro. I mean,
no, next week might be a little PG-13. Just be ready. That's all.
Oh,
maybe.
Okay. I didn't know we were getting Paul George as a guest, but that sounds like fun. So
what do you have coming up?
I have coming up. Well, I'm really excited to finish up this Burbank Part 1 vlog, which definitely check that out if you're listening to this one. And that'll be, of course, on our YouTube, Crosstown Cardboard. So super excited because I go through my big Larry Bird flawless pickup, my Bird 1 of 1 pickup, selling a Bird, and just, hanging out with some kids at the show, and just 2 trade nights, 2 days at the show. A big deal when I sold 20 cards for 75% of comps, and why I did it, and how much money was exchanged there. So that's a super cool vlog. And then I'm excited to see your vlog when that comes out of the Laz show. So we got a show in the Southwest, and we got a show in the Northeast, and having some fun making some recap videos along with our podcast.
Making some flips, collecting, trying to add to that PC. And yeah, we're on a roll. 20 now. Like I said, we could drink next week. Episode 21.
We'll be 21. That's deserves a celebration. We might have to have a toast or something we can do.
I'm in.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Sounds good, bro. Great to hear that you're doing well and you're beginning the itch to flip, and I'm going back toward a little bit of collecting, or meeting in the middle. We're exchanging viewpoints and we're learning from each other.
My guy, we'll talk next week.
All right, bro.
Peace.